do this.
Hello and welcome to RSG Podcast episode 69.
Yeah! Is it 69?
Appropriate.
Is it actually 69?
Yes, it is.
Do we actually go back and recount and make sure?
Yes.
Okay. Did we?
Yeah.
No. So the answer to that question is we did not.
Well, okay, because the last one I have to put up, episode I'm putting up is 67, and then we have 68, which was ours from last week, and then this is 69.
Okay.
So it's legit.
Appropriate,
yeah.
Considering that's basically what we wanted to do after this weekend.
Yep. And then after this...
With the movie.
Oh, right. Yes, with the movie.
Right.
Maybe. During the movie? With
No.
whomever?
No, I wanted to focus and pay attention to the movie. I was too busy for that nonsense.
So in case you guys don't know what's going on...
Some crazy...
There was this movie that just came out Friday, Star Wars.
It's a little indie flick.
Yeah, a little indie flick. Something nobody's really heard of before.
Right.
But it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good, yeah. Yeah, no, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens opened last weekend, finally.
Yes.
After many months of hype, etc. So much hype. Yeah, well, and they're like the Star Wars, like the Imperial March and like the intro theme have never played on TV more than it has in the last few months. Everybody is using Star Wars to sell their product now.
Well, and I think Disney completely revamped everything, and it's all Star Wars for the most part down there now. Like, they got a whole area and everything for it.
This movie made back all the money spent on it and then some long before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Because you know those companies are paying premium dollar to get Star Wars in their commercials.
Oh, they are. Yeah, because I was talking to my brother about it, and he was like, man, I can't believe Star Wars is paying all these people. I'm like, Star Wars is paying nobody for this. These people are paying Star Wars because they know the hype that already exists around Star Wars. These people are paying Star Wars to let them hype the movie.
Yeah.
Let them hype their product in association with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm looking up how much it made.
$527 million, I think.
529. 529 million worldwide.
Opening weekend.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. What's the next closest? Like 200?
Jurassic World was the next closest. Jurassic World broke the worldwide box office record earlier this year. And then, unsurprisingly, like as a twist to no one, Star Wars opened and demolished that record.
So check Jurassic Park, because I want to know...
But Jurassic World was the previous one.
We need to know this. This is important. Doesn't just say like easily. Yeah. You gotta like.
So.
Which broke Avengers record.
Yeah.
Really, Variety?
Yeah. Right.
Get your shit together.
They have their shit together. That's why they're making you go watch something else.
Continue to. Okay.
So anyway, while Ryan looks that up, they made a ton of money, and we all participated in that.
Well, it made $208 million opening weekend in the U.S. Looks like
315.
Kind of dinosaur thrill inched Marvel's Avengers to become top dog of all time. U.S. debut $208 million. Superhero blockbuster previously had 207, so it barely broke it. Right. It also beat Harry Potter, who had 314. Benchmark and overseas launch with it did 315.6 million. I'm guessing worldwide.
Yeah, that's its.
This movie blew that out of the water by over $200 million.
Yeah.
That's the kind of money people like dream of when they win the lottery.
Yeah.
Like that's a fucking lot of
basically
money.
It's lottery money.
It is lottery money.
Yeah. So very successful. Obviously,
successful.
To no one's surprise.
And that's just the movie. That doesn't include the commercials. They were
merchandise.
I guarantee people paid to have.
Yeah.
Like, you know, McDonald's having toys and
Disney's not gonna let anybody use the Imperial March in their commercial without getting some cash for it.
Oh, absolutely.
They're getting some cash for that.
Absolutely. So I mean.
Yeah.
Disney's just cranking out the cash cows, man.
Mm-hmm.
The question is...
Well, basically, Disney is in charge of making good movies now.
Yeah, which isn't that crazy to think about?
If
I remember
like,
making fun of them.
Yeah, if Disney was like, we're going to make a Transformers movie, I'd be like, okay.
Right?
I'm on board.
I'm on board.
Let's make that happen. Let's make it happen. Roll it out. You know?
Yeah.
If they were making, like, they're like, I'm making anything, whatever.
Well,
they're like, we're going to make a Master of the Universe movie. I'm on board.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
I'm on board.
They're in charge of making successful movies.
Yes. Okay. That's
like,
fair.
not all of them are good. And some of them are like, I don't think anything's been below mediocre.
Yeah, they haven't done anything bad, I don't think.
Nothing bad, I would say.
So, in the Marvel Universe, at least, because that's their biggest, like, other franchise at the moment, is the Marvel Universe. So, I guess we have to wait to pass full judgment on Star Wars until at least Rogue One comes out next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have to have at least two, and one of them be a non-series movie, to see if they can really build a franchise around it or not.
I'm actually really excited for Rogue One because it's going to be a movie that is in the Star Wars universe, but isn't of the Star Wars.
It's not part of the main storyline. So they're not going to have the first family of Force in it. It's not going to have any of that stuff in it. It'll be about other people in the universe.
Hopefully, it'll be about not heavy-handed nods.
Yes, there'll be less heavy-handed nods, I think.
That's what I'm.
Although we better see a lot of Bothans die.
You really
I
want
expect to see
a lot of Bothans
die.
Because
after Mon Mothma made a preachy point about how many Bothans died in Episode 4 to bring us this information, there better be some dead Bothans.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any Bothans cast in the cast. Just saying. Nobody was a Bothan.
Maybe it'll just be a planet. There's a lot of Bothans on that planet.
Dude, okay. Speaking of blowing up planets, like, holy shit, man! Like, the first strike back from the Empire when they're
Star Killer base.
Yeah, when they finally fired that. First off, it absorbs an entire sun to fire.
Yeah.
So that's a decent amount of energy.
That's a lot of destructive force.
Yeah.
And then
it's a pretty big deal.
Wiped out a solar system.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, we're going to blow up, and
all
these
the
guys
planets
are
in the
gone.
solar system blew up.
Yeah, and these were like heavy populated planets too. Like this was another Alderaan kill, but like times 5.
But times 5, yeah.
And just like it's almost, I don't know.
And well, my one disappointment about that was that like we didn't see we blew up a bunch of planets, but they're planets that we didn't know about and didn't necessarily care about. Like I didn't really feel the loss of those planets so much.
They shoehorned. I mean,
you know what I mean. I didn't. It wasn't emotional. Like when they blew up Alderaan, it was sort of a thing. Like
why?
You saw Princess Leia because Princess Leia was there. She cared about it, so it made more of an impact than these. They blew up 5 random planets, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of people. Shitty.
I guess they shoehorned in one scene where people are like, oh, that's a big beam. What's going on? Oh my gosh!
Right.
And then
but I didn't care about any of those people.
No.
What's because you're a terrible person.
He's a Sith.
That's
you're
fair.
a terrible person.
That's fair. I'm a horrible person.
Learn to empathize.
I'm not arguing that point.
Learn to empathize.
But you know what I'm saying is it would be pretty sweet. I would love to see the sky turn all red with a giant beam.
But I thought that I loved the imagery of the Death Planet, or what's it called? Star
Killer Base. Star
Yeah.
Killer Base.
Yeah. So let's go back.
All right, let's
rewind.
Yeah.
Let's go sort of over the movie, what we enjoyed, right? So let's not be specific. Let's talk about new characters. Okay, we all knew the returning characters were coming back.
Right.
Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie. We'll talk about them in a minute. Right now, we'll talk about the new characters. So let's talk about first. We get introduced to the first guy who we really see is Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
Of the new characters who are important to us, right?
Who's kind of BA.
Yeah. And he's the Rebels' most awesome pilot.
Yeah.
And when they showed him piloting his X-Wing, he was clearly the Rebels' most awesome pilot.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down.
Killing it. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
Right. I love the way he's like seamlessly switching into one scene. He's shooting like air targets, ground targets, air targets, ground targets, air targets.
Dude's got his
seamlessly switching back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he was really BA. So,
and what I really I would have liked to have seen more Poe Dameron throughout the movie.
Agreed.
Because he also had a really cool attitude. He was very he was like a Wedge Antilles Han Solo mix.
Right. He was very much the snarky hotshot pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
Where he's like, I'm a badass. I don't care what you do it or whatever.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. There's a reason I'm on special assignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Yeah, he's on a special assignment in the beginning to retrieve a map piece to find Luke Skywalker, which is sort of the thrust of this whole movie, is they have to try and find Luke Skywalker.
We need Luke back.
Right, because we need him back.
It's just bad.
Yeah, so he starts off...
We need Jesus.
The Empire invades the city, the little village where he's at, and he takes a pot shot at Kylo Ren, who is another one of our new characters. And Kylo Ren, to prove that he's even more BA, fucking freezes his blaster bolt in midair.
I'm watching this just like...
Yeah, just freezes his blaster bolt in midair, which has never been done before.
Yeah, it's new stuff.
That's new Force use for us.
Now, this is treading on dangerous ground.
Okay.
Not for me. I loved it.
Right.
The Force is the Force, and it's called the Force in this weird, very nebulous sort of idea for a reason.
Right.
So they can do things and not have to tell you
have to explain it.
What's going on. And that's the reason why the Force is the Force. So I loved it for that reason. It's a good way of like knocking it up a little bit and going, Kylo Ren is serious business.
Yeah.
He's not playing around.
He's pretty BA. So I really, really, really like that part. But, I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, well, you can't do that because blah, 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 because I'm such a super fan that I know the canon better than anybody else.
Well, people like to get tied up in, like, what we've seen of the Star Wars universe in the past must be true of all the Star Wars universe in the future. I wish I had $1 for everyone who mentioned, I thought all Stormtroopers were clones. No. Just because Stormtroopers started off as clones, for starters, this is like 70 years later. Clones die, and they don't make more of them. You know, they
somebody has to pay for that stuff,
right? You know, like once they got their army, that was done. They delivered the army at the end of the trilogy, the prequel trilogy. They delivered the army. They were done. They weren't making more clones for them anymore. That was that. They had made the army, delivered it. If they wanted a new army, they told them they have to pay for it again.
Yep.
You know, so no. The clones died off and were gone, and new Stormtroopers are not new.
They're not recloned. Right. They're just drafted.
They're not recloned. Right. They're drafted. They're conscripted. Whatever. You know. Well, I think originally, because you don't see so much of the overall world of the Empire in 4, 5, and 6, right? Because we see the Empire as the big bad guys. We follow the terrorists who we root for to kill them. But you don't see that, like, in the Empire world,
he's not wrong.
There's people, like, just like in the U.S., there are people who sign up to join the army because that's what they want to do with their lives.
Well, that's how everything started. That's what Luke wanted to do. That is what Biggs Dark Vader did.
Yeah, and Wedge did.
And Wedge did. They just realized that the Empire were bad people.
That's why I want Rogue One to be Top Gun in space. It's not. But
what
if
they go into more detail, like on the whole reprogramming stuff like that of the?
Well, I think they needed to. Like I said, I think the movie could have been 15 minutes longer, but we're getting off track here. So Kylo Ren, badass.
Yeah.
And again, people I think get too caught up in the like, I've already seen this in the Force, so that's all that it can do, sort of thing. He can stop Blaster Bolt if he wants to with the Force. We don't know, right? So he stops the Blaster Bolt. He captures Poe Dameron, and they go to get it. But Poe Dameron has already sent the thing away on BB-8, one of our new characters as well. So let's talk about Kylo Ren real quick. I liked Kylo Ren in this movie. Overall, I liked him because I thought that he was sort of the anti-Luke, right?
Yeah,
he was sort of anti-Luke.
No, Kylo Ren was great for so many reasons, really. Like a lot of people are like, well, he's just another one. I'm like, yeah, he is, but he has reasons. But more than having those reasons, like, they're believable. Like, because he actually acted well.
Yeah.
You know, unlike whatever his name is.
Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. Yeah. Hayden Christensen just sounds like a whiny child, but he should never have been a whiny child. This guy should be a whiny child because that's what we want him to be. That's what he should be.
But he was a whiny child with, like, the oomph to back it up.
Yes.
Like, he was a whiny child with a gun.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of people's complaints about his, like, that when he just flies off the handle and goes into a rage. But I loved that about him.
I loved that about him.
That was awesome.
I thought that was great because it shows that he's, like, not in control, but that he's this, like, super passionate about things, and that's the passion that fuels his dark side power or whatever. Because that's what the dark side is. It's all about passion. Hate, anger, all that's passion. He's passionate about whatever, and that's what fuels his hate, his anger, his rage. So it made total sense. that he would just fly off the handle because he hasn't really learned to control and harness all that yet.
Right.
You know? Right. So he's still learning as well.
He is. This isn't so much to the character itself, but more the circumstances surrounding the character and the circumstances, the plotline he is personally dealing with. Mm-hmm. My favorite part was like the juxtaposition of like fighting against the temptation of the light side of the Force.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was poetic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I ate that up because he was like, he truly believes the dark side of the Force is where the power that he needs lies, the power that he wants lies. We don't know why yet. There's a lot more to come in the next movies, I think. Mm-hmm. But that's you get that sensation. It's like that's where he really believes it is, and he's like, so part of him wants to be good and he feels it.
Yeah.
And he rails against it, and it's like an interesting twist.
Yeah.
I just liked how he was a kid. I mean, he's like late teens almost, and he's in charge of all this because he's got the. I mean, I was completely okay with him being like a little.
Well, there's sort of some background that we don't really have unless you like look into it a little deeper and read some of the other material that's out there available. Because there's some books that they've released that are specific to like the lead-in period between. They're currently running a comic book series that runs from starting at the Battle of Endor, where Poe Dameron's parents hook up to make a little Poe Dameron.
Oh, cool.
To because she was one of the Y-wing pilots for the mission or whatever. She hooks up with one of the soldiers who was part of the troop that invaded the
shield generator.
The shield generator.
Yeah.
Anyway, they hook up and have a little baby Poe Dameron or whatever, and so it sort of like fills in some of that background of what happens in between. That we don't really know if you just start watching Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And I don't think it necessarily hurts you, but having some of that background helps out some, I think.
Yeah.
Because the New Republic has taken over, but they've also demilitarized. And the Empire, the Battle of Jakku, which was 10, 15 years ago, was their last real stand. And after that, the remnants of the Empire pushed out to the far outer rim and started rebuilding. But the New Republic doesn't really know about it, and they went in search of dark side power users because they've always felt like because the people who were left were like, we need another emperor.
Yeah.
And if we're going to really recapture our territory and become the Empire again. So we need that dark side power, and that's what they've been searching for. Because they don't have a replacement or whatever. And that's why, even though he's relatively untrained, Kylo Ren is as powerful as he is in the new First Order.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that was just a really cool, like, he comes out and he's in this mask and he's very intimidating and he's pretty large in stature in reality.
Yeah.
So he looks very intimidating and then he takes off that mask and you're like, what?
You're like, this kid with his soft curly hair.
And then he drops the mask and it weighs 500 pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah. So, but then we meet the new droid, BB-8 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the little round ball with the little head thing on top that rolls around with him. I thought the design for BB-8 was good. It looked kind of like a soccer ball, but I was okay with that.
He did.
And it did sort of feel like the next generation of R2 units.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the people, like if Steve Jobs was running R2 Factory or whatever, if he was like, guys, we got the R2 unit, everybody loves it. What can we do to make it better? Oh, round ball. Everybody loves round shit.
Or the guy from Dyson.
Right. You know what I mean? So, but it feels like
my new R2 unit.
He looks like the new generation of R2 units. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like somebody like, we gotta spice it up. The old guys are too clunky. They move too slow. We gotta spice it up some. And so they make a new... but it feels like a natural progression, which I like about BB-8. And I feel like he has his own personality. I feel like he fulfills the role of R2-D2 for the most part, but also sort of like part of Chewie's role from some of the original movies, where he's sort of like a non-English speaking character that does things, beeps and stuff, that you don't understand, but purvey a tone or something like that. Or, because even though you can't understand it, you know what he means.
Yeah.
Well,
like the whole backing up the other guy when he's like, "Oh, I'm part of this." Come
right.
on, man, tell me.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, they do the little lighter comes up or whatever. Like that was awesome.
The film up. Well, that's like part of what BB-8.
Or he's like shocking Finn when he's on the ground the first time or whatever, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm part of the resistance," and he like stops. He looks down at Finn, back up to Rey. Like, is that true? And then back down to Finn.
But this is exactly what gave BB-8 more personality. Was that there was more. like actual interaction. Like in the 4, 5, and 6, a lot of the time the droids were there and they were kind of a big part of things, but they were like just sort of side commentary, and the characters very rarely directly interacted with them.
Well, R2 is basically just there to be the Deus Ex Machina for everything in 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
We can't get this open? Good thing it's R2 compatible. Get over here and jam your little thingy
everything was R2 compatible.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what gave him a little bit more of his own personality, is that there's a lot more interpersonal, like, interaction with the character.
And he had a good personality. I thought, like,
he was great.
I really enjoyed BB-8 as a character overall.
Yeah.
You know? And then we meet Rey as well. And she's basically the new Luke Skywalker. In that she's born on a desert planet, an orphan. She doesn't know where her parents are at. Or who they are, even necessarily.
All we know is that they're supposed to be coming back, and they left her on
is that she believes they're coming back.
Right.
Because we see the big wall where she's scratching off the days, and it's very full of days.
Yeah.
But no parents are anywhere to be seen, nor do we have any real reason to believe that they're actually coming back. But she does, and that's what drives her as a person.
I liked how she had, like, her house was a fall,
like a busted AT-AT. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and she does scavenger type work or whatever, and she, for basically subsistence living. Like, that's it. Like, that subsistence living, and that's it. You know, she doesn't appear to be trying to go anywhere or do anything, just subsistence living for the most part. You know, but she appears to be well known in the area. You know, she has her own little setup. People know who she is. She knows who they are, or whatever. And then then she runs into BB-8, and she ends up saving him from a random guy who was going to capture him and turn him in for money.
He looked like a fucking Jawa in power armor.
Yeah.
Like, he's what he looked like.
And he had like a little beast, whatever his little beast was all power armored up and stuff too. It was pretty cool. Because you could tell it was alive underneath.
Yeah.
That it was like a real living being or whatever, not just a machine. So that was interesting. Like, we could have seen more of that, you know. But that guy just walks off then after she steals the droid for no good reason. Like, she just like, no, fuck you, you're not capturing this droid. He's like, well, fine. And then just walks away. I'd have been like, why didn't he like pull a blaster on her or shoot her or whatever, you know? But
we don't know what was said, and that was like a big part of it. Like, who knows? Maybe she's well known enough. She was like, I will kill you. And he's like, but that's my droid. I'll kill you.
I'll kill you. Right.
Okay, fine. Yeah. I mean, that could be what it is. And then he could be like, shit, that's Rey, and she kills people.
She kills people.
Right? Or at least he's capable of
that.
Yeah.
She booked the shit out of that guy.
He's like, bitches be crazy, yo. She will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, then she hooks up with BB-8, who immediately befriends her.
Yeah.
You know? And so this is the first time we get to see really interaction between the two of them.
What do you think about the idea? Somebody called Rey a Mary Sue.
Okay. Yeah.
I've
read this. I've read this as well. That she's like the too perfect example of like strong female character. That she doesn't have any sort of flaws or anything. I guess I get their point, but it doesn't bother me that much.
I understand what they're saying, but to me it feels like that is not true.
Okay.
First of all, she obviously has her own neurosis, and she goes through periods where she struggles with things. You know, she doesn't want to deal with this Force stuff. She wants to go home and wait for her parents.
Right.
Or whoever.
Because she's scared.
Because she's scared. Right. She doesn't want to deal with this Jedi bullshit. She doesn't want to deal with any of this. Mm-hmm. She even runs away at one point. You know. Yeah. I shouldn't say runs away. She doesn't actually run away. She kind of does. The lightsaber, they're like, hey, take this lightsaber. And she's like, no, I'm out of here.
No, right. She runs away.
She bolts.
She doesn't run away.
I thought it was pretty interesting that the lightsaber kind of gave her a little bit of insight into what happened when she was taken. Or when she was left there. So it's almost like, I don't know, maybe they were saving her from something. Maybe they knew she was Force sensitive.
Well, there's a lot of posturing on that, but we won't get into that quite yet.
Well, we don't really know what happened with her parents, and we don't know why they left her there. There are lots of people who have ideas and theories, and there's lots of them, you know what I mean? But the fact is, we just don't know.
Yeah. But, my point is that she was flawed.
Yeah.
You know, she had her problems.
Yeah. Han Solo offered her the job of a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That she, like, something that perfectly fit her skills, perfectly fit her interests and desires, and she was like, no, I can't, because I have to go back and wait for my family. They're coming back.
Yeah.
You know? Well, and everyone was like, what? You're retarded. No.
That's Han fucking Solo.
Well, and I feel like...
Right.
I feel like a lot of the points... Because everyone's like, well, she was just good at everything all the time. I'm like, well, that's how, like, super... Someone who's, like, super strong in the Force is going to be like. And, like, I feel like if this was written out...
What was she good at?
It would be less... what's the word, I guess? It would be more explained. Like, they would say, oh, well, she just knew that this was the right button to push to fly the Millennium Falcon, you know.
Right.
I mean, she flew that damn thing like an ace, man.
Okay. To a certain extent.
She flew
to a certain extent, she did. She spent a lot of time skipping up off the ground as well.
True.
It wasn't perfect.
It was not perfect at first.
At first. Right.
But she picks things up
learned.
Like that.
Yeah. And part of that's because she's smart, I imagine. And
well, I mean, she wasn't smart.
But what is she good at? Like, the things that she's good at, they don't put her in a situation where she doesn't have a good reason to naturally be good at this or whatever, right? Because when she first starts fighting against Kylo Ren in the epic battle at the end, she's not good at it.
No, she's terrible.
She's getting fucking handled.
But you can't say that, like, not being good at it for the first 10 seconds of something is some kind of struggle. Like...
No, I don't think she's struggling.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I agree. I do.
She gets better at things incredibly fast than, like,
right.
Which is normal, which is what Force users do.
Right.
Like, all I'm saying is that, like, she comes in, she's, like, immediately good at it, because 10 seconds doesn't count as, like, any sort of...
Well, it's like I tried to explain to people after the movie. When you are a highly trained Force user, you use the Force as a tool.
Yeah.
It does what you want it to do. When you are not a highly trained user that's strong in the Force uses you as a tool. And that is what we have witnessed here with Rey, is the Force using her as a tool.
Well, I think this is a fine example of just showing somebody who's, like, really strong in the Force.
Yeah.
It's something that was really, again, like, nebulous in the first couple movies, in all the movies. We're like, he's really strong in the Force. Well, why? How?
Show me.
Yeah, what does that
like,
mean?
nothing
exactly.
ever happens to show that.
Yeah.
Like, not even Luke does anything particularly impressive. You know? But...
He can't even lift the fucking X-Wing up out of the swamp in Dagobah.
Well, I guess you can shoot a womp rat. Or not a womp rat.
I mean, I guess they kind of show
rat.
Yoda being strong in the
Skyhopper.
Force, because the Force sustained him for 900 some years, and he was able, like, he just was like, all right, whatever, let me show this kid how it's done.
But he was also a highly trained user of the
True.
Force.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like... But we've never really seen somebody who was strong in the Force just sort of thrust into these situations so much. Luke always had help for the most part.
Do you guys...
He always had Han along, he always had Leia along or whatever to, like, do things.
Well, okay.
I was going to say, do you think that maybe Kylo Ren unlocked her Force potential when he was trying to fuck with her head?
Could be. I
mean, I'm not going to say unlocked it, he just showed her things. He's like, that's how she learns, like, throughout the whole thing. Like, she has a basic idea of how to pilot stuff, then she gets in here, and she's like, okay, I basically know what's going on, alright, and she learns it just like that. Yeah. Same thing with the Force. The Force is no different for her. Like, she comes in and he's like, screwing with her brain, and she sees him do stuff, and she's like, I can do that, I bet.
Yeah. I love it when she uses the whole, you're going to release me bit, she's looking like, did it work? No. Try again?
Yeah.
It worked. Leave your blaster.
Right.
That was awesome.
Did you know that that's Daniel Craig?
That's Daniel Craig.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's Daniel Craig. Like, that Stormtrooper is Daniel Craig.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
so, like,
awesome.
Because everyone suspected that he was or whatever, and then he was like, what? No, I'm a superstar. Why would I go and be like a bit part in some other movie? And everyone's like, because it's fucking Star Wars. That's why.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking Star Wars. Don't be ridiculous.
He just wanted to be
We know you're there, Daniel Craig. Shut up. So,
that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the name of the best boy grip, and I can't remember. I forgot it already. It was Gary. It was Gary something. That's my man right there.
Best boy grip.
Best boy grip.
Oh.
Best boy grip.
But no, I had no problems with Rey being a Mary Sue. I don't even know if that's appropriate because, like, the thing is like she piloted the Millennium Falcon and got amazingly lucky.
Right.
Like, we're seeing her at her most, like...
Well, and we haven't seen her struggle yet, but that doesn't mean that we won't see her struggle.
Right.
We haven't seen all of her story yet.
Oh, and it's not like she fought Kylo Ren on even ground.
No.
He had a gut wound.
Right.
Courtesy of Chewie.
and some other wounds. Because Finn got him at least once, too.
Yeah.
Which I thought that
Lucky
was
Strike.
really cool how Fenn, a non-Force user, was able to basically survive.
He got handled.
Well, yeah. I mean,
he got handled.
he survived longer than he technically should have against.
But he's still a trained individual. Like I saw some people complain about, like, how does a sanitation worker or whatever know how to use a lightsaber or whatever, fight with it at all? Like he doesn't.
It's like a sword.
He is a trained soldier still.
Yeah.
Like, yes, his job was to be in charge of monitoring the sanitation, whatever, on the planet.
But
that's how things work in the Navy or in the military.
Exactly.
Like,
everybody is a trained soldier, and they do this as well.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. So he's still a trained soldier. They still sit him down to fight in that village.
Well, some people's like, well, how can you use the lightsaber without being a Force user? I'm like, it's just a
you press a
switch.
button.
It's a switch.
It's like a fucking.
You see him press the button.
It's like a flashlight, guys.
Right. It's not activated by force power. You just press the button. And
press the button. The reason why most people don't use it is because, like, if you just move a little bit wrong, you're gonna cut your own arm off.
Right. You're gonna cut your own arm off.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, and you can't really use it effectively to dodge blaster bolts unless you're a Force user, really.
Yeah.
And that puts you at a serious disadvantage in a gunfight.
Yeah. Let's talk about Finn, actually. We haven't got to Finn yet.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Finn.
Yeah.
So Finn shows up in the opening scene, and we see him struggling with the idea of just slaughtering helpless villagers. Like, we can't see his face, but we can tell that it's supposed to be Finn, and that he's obviously struggling with it.
Blood,
Yeah, and then they marked him with the blood, because his comrade dies, and he's the only one who gives a shit that his comrade just died. Because he goes over, he's like, dude, you okay? Nope, not okay.
And his friend's like, ugh.
Right, bleeds all over his face mask.
Yeah.
Swipes it all over his face mask. So, and then they line up all the villagers that are left or whatever, and they just tell everyone to execute him, and he doesn't fire his weapon or anything. You know.
I like how that didn't go unnoticed.
Yeah, it did not go unnoticed too. Yeah. Kylo Ren marked it, and Captain Phasma both were like,
"Why didn't you do it?"
That guy, he's not participating as he should be.
Yeah.
So
we're just talking about Phasma next. Just saying.
Yeah, well, we will. So then Finn goes back aboard the ship, and he's obviously struggling with things. You know, you see him take off his mask, and he's clearly unhappy with what things have happened or whatever. And he's looking around, and Captain Phasma comes up behind him, and she's like, "We need you. We saw what happened, bro. We saw it. We need you to report for reconditioning, and and put your helmet back on because no one told you to take that shit off."
Yeah.
Right. So then he supposedly reports for reconditioning. And this was apparently his first incident of insubordinate behavior.
I thought it was just they wanted to report in to have his weapon checked for malfunction.
Right, they did want to report in to have his weapon checked. I think they were checking to see if he fired his weapon at all.
Probably.
In reality. They're checking to see, is your cell still full? You didn't fire at all? Why not?
Yeah.
Something's going on. Right. So then he helps Poe Dameron escape because he decides that...
He's not going to kill for them.
Yeah, he's not going to kill for them. He doesn't want to do that. So,
which is interesting if you think about it, because with the clones, they were trained to do all that. So, as soon as that switch was flipped and the Empire was taking over, clones just, without even thinking, went right into it.
Right.
That was their program. So, they're reprogramming people and children from young ages to be these soldiers. How many more of this type of situation you think has happened based on the way they reacted to him?
Right. Well, and they obviously have a protocol. You can see when they talk. They have a protocol set up for when they go rogue or whatever. Eliminate him. This was his first offense or whatever. So, because I imagine there wasn't a lot of other times in his sanitation duties where he was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's worth it for me to step out of line.
Well, he even mentions that this was his first combat assignment.
Yes.
And I wonder if there's in the future going to be factions of splinters of stormtroopers.
Well, we'll get to that when we talk about Captain Phasma.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about Captain Phasma now.
Let's talk about Finn. We haven't finished the thing yet.
So Finn then hooks up with Rey. First with Poe Dameron, and the two of them click immediately. They have great chemistry, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's
the two of them start bromancing right off.
He's like, "Why are you helping me? Because it's the right thing to do." And he's like, "Because you need a pilot. Because you need a pilot." Yeah. That's a great line.
And so they steal a TIE fighter. He's trying to teach him how to fire the TIE fighter, the laser on the TIE fighter or whatever, while they're at the same time trying to get unstuck.
I love that because it was so Empire. Everything was requisitioned. It had its place. It had its number.
Yes. And so they steal a TIE fighter, and he doesn't have a real name at this point. He's still FN 25781 or whatever his number was, which I liked because it was a throwback sort of to the original Death Star, where they only refer to troopers by their numbers or whatever. You know what I mean? Like when they call down during the first detention block bust when they're saving Princess Leia in the first one, they call down like TK725. What's going on down there? You know, because he doesn't have a name. He's just a number.
Yep.
You know, which gives you that feeling of like the Empire, of like the grandness of the Empire, of the size of it, the scale of it. Because they don't bother giving people names and keeping track of that shit. They just everyone's a number.
What's that book? Fahrenheit. I can't remember.
451.
451. I think.
Oh yeah.
It's basically what it is. Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah. So everybody's got a number, but he escapes, and then they get shot out of the air after some adventures, and he thinks that Poe Dameron dies. So he walks to find the nearest whatever. He runs into Rey because he finds the town through the desert, taking off his stormtrooper armor. Doesn't want to be involved with him anymore.
First, doesn't he?
Well, he ends up in town and he sees and then we see him drink water from the trough where a gigantic nose is drinking water from.
I like how that thing like knocked him out of the trough.
Just pushed him out. Like,
well, I mean,
my water.
What do you think about the character though? Like, what is it that like?
I liked Finn because he felt very real, right? Like everyone's like, well, he was just way too friendly with everybody, way too close up front. He has never had another friend in his life. You know, of course he's super close with Poe because Poe gives him his name. And now this guy has acknowledged him as a real person, not as a number, not as part of a unit or whatever, but as a real person. He sees me. He sees the person who I am, and he's giving me my name, and now I'm Finn. So, you know, I'm close to this guy because of that reason. You know, because he's the first person who ever saw me for me. And the same thing goes with Rey, to a certain extent. You know, they immediately have that chase in the Falcon, where the two of them team up.
Before even that happens, I like the interaction between Finn and Rey, specifically when before they get to, they're trying to get to the Falcon. Actually, they're trying to get to the quad jumper, and then they're trying to get to the Falcon. When he keeps grabbing her hand, and she's like, "Quit!" Because he has this like, this is good. This is a good like show of his character.
Right. He has that need to like protect somebody.
Like it just shows the kind of person he is, and this is the reason why he's rebelling against.
The first time he sees her. Right? Somebody has jumped up and thrown a sack over BB-8 and tried to steal her, and there's two guys and they've jumped Rey. And she's fighting them, and he's like heading to help her out. And then she handles it, so he's like, oh, cool, never mind then.
He's like, oh,
we're good.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the thing, he keeps grabbing...
But his first instinct was to go and help her out.
Yeah, he keeps grabbing her hand because he wants to help her out, and like, more often than not, she has to help him out, but that's... Right. That's just like a wonderful dynamic there. I really enjoyed that dynamic between those particular characters. Mm-hmm. And it just became more and more prevalent as like, you know, the movie went on.
Well, and I love the fact that they left it open so that they could ship Rey and Finn if they needed to, if they want to in the future. If they want to develop that into like a romantic relationship.
They could also ship Poe and Finn.
They could ship Poe and Finn.
Yeah.
But they didn't force it in our throat. What they've done is like created a solid friendship base between the two of them, where they obviously care about each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they could lead that to naturally develop into a more romantic relationship in the future, or it never could. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but either way, at this point would be fine with me.
I guess my two main points for Finn are: firstly, he is not a character or a character type we have seen in Star Wars before. He's a brand new type of character in reality. And the second thing is, that's because he's an anime character. He's like an anime lead character from any number of anime. He's like the good guy hero who's always not quite good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with this. I think it works out really well.
Yep. But I agree. I thought Finn was a great character. I thought he brought a great energy to it. And I just loved him in general.
Yeah, Boyega did a great job.
Yeah.
Man,
props to John Boyega on that because he was good.
Yeah,
I loved him as Finn.
Yeah,
you know,
all the actors really worked well together.
Yeah,
even the old cast came back to work seamlessly with the new guys.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about Captain Phasma.
All right,
real quick. Yeah, we're done talking about Finn.
I didn't really get a whole lot of time.
I think like severely underused.
Yeah,
like they really advertised her and hyped her up as like going to be somebody badass in the new First Order, and then like she shows up once, like shouts a couple of orders, and she shows up and yells at Finn once, and then disappears.
She doesn't do any
and then
fighting.
is later on like captured by Finn.
Well, by Chewie.
Well, by Chewie and Finn or whatever, but
Han.
by Finn's idea.
Yeah.
Han was there too.
Yeah, but by the three of them to take the shields down for the base.
It was his idea, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, so I agree. She needs to be in there way more often. Like, just the few lines she had were excellent.
Well, I would have loved to see... There's a scene where Finn has the lightsaber and he's supposed to take it to Rey. Because they're at Maz Kanata's or Kanata's cantina or whatever. And she tells him, take this to Rey or whatever, and because the Empire is invading. The First Order is invading and they come down and shooting people or whatever. And he's running through the thing or whatever, and like some random stormtrooper looks over at him and goes like, "Traitor!" and pulls out his electro staff and goes after him. I would have loved to have seen that be Captain Phasma.
That would have been the perfect spot.
Yeah, it would have been a great spot for her to have come in, shown how badass she is, that she just fucking handles Finn or whatever. But I guess eventually since they shot and killed that guy, like since Poe Dameron killed that guy eventually, I'm pretty sure. No, Han did.
Yeah.
But since somebody eventually shot and killed him, they didn't want to kill Phasma off like that, which makes sense, I suppose. But they could have left Phasma just injured and not dead.
Well, let's get into that because this bleeds into like my prediction on Phasma.
Okay. What's your prediction on Phasma?
My prediction is that she is a lot more like Finn in reality.
Huh?
Because when they capture her and they're like, put the shields down, she's like, okay, just does it. Like, for somebody who's supposed to be a fairly important person who reports directly to the...
Moff or whatever.
Yeah, the Moff or the General or whatever his name is now. Whose name I honestly can't remember. Hux. Yeah, thank you. General Hux. You know, reports directly to him. Like, she just breaks, like, with no effort whatsoever.
Yeah.
She's not in a lot of movies. She's not in a lot of the movie and, like, not doing a lot of the same things that everyone else is doing because I'm thinking that maybe
she's Mandalorian. And this is just a paid gig.
Well, I don't think she's Mandalorian, but...
It could be. That'd be pretty awesome if she was a Mandalorian.
Yeah, it would be
pretty BA.
But, I mean, I'm thinking that maybe that she's going to have bigger parts in the next movies, and I'm hoping it has something to do with her not being entirely, like... Because here's the thing...
Well, I could see for her it being more important, like... That she doesn't like the way that, great evil Snowcone and Hux just throw away stormtroopers. Because they consider stormtroopers to be expendable. And I could see her being like, these are men. These are my men. They're my charge. And I don't find them to be expendable. And I don't appreciate them being expendable. And that is sort of the thing that drives the wedge between her and the rest of the First Order that causes her defection of some sort.
Yeah.
But I could see it being a thing or whatever, where she's like.
There's also like that part where like when we're talking about Finn earlier and how he was ordered to go do whatever. He basically completely disobeyed orders.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't seem like they're too terribly kind about that kind of stuff. Yeah. But like you don't know what happens to him. Seemingly nothing.
Well, she's asked about it because when Kylo Ren talks to Phasma about it, she's like, "Oh, I ordered him to go check this out. I'm sure he's on his way."
Yeah,
like it was his first offense or whatever. We took care of it. We handled like we normally handle first offenders. Or whatever.
Well, she was kind of defensive about it though.
Yeah,
she was like, "We made him do this. It was his first offense." Like she was defensive about the whole thing. So I'm thinking that there's more at play with Phasma than just maybe not like complete defection to the rebels, but to the resistance rather in this different name for rebels, but
it's la resistance.
Yeah. But definitely some kind of pushback against
the First Order. Yeah, I could see it becoming a critical point later on where her disobedience of an order from General Hux or Snowcone becomes a problem.
Yeah. Could be that she just, it didn't look like there was really much power in General Hux, though. Like, he had name rights over the whole area, but, like, nobody really took him seriously. Like, Kylo Ren didn't take him seriously.
Well, Kylo Ren's on the same level.
True.
Yeah, I like Domhnall Gleeson usually as an actor, but I didn't find his role as General Hux to be very compelling.
Yeah.
I thought he was maybe because he was underused, but he wasn't Grand Moff Tarkin.
No, definitely not. Tarkin was the best.
Grand Moff Tarkin was awesome.
But you got to think of Hux as the same level as Tarkin was. Like, with, like, Vader. Yeah. Vader took orders from Tarkin.
Yeah.
That's how important Tarkin was. That's how important Hux is in this particular situation. Especially since Kylo Ren keeps fucking up.
Yeah. So Yeah. So, and I didn't think Hux was that great, but I think I think he has the potential to like develop and be more important in the future.
Yeah, he didn't die, did he? So
no, because Snoke. And that was the one thing that was different, I think, between the Emperor was like, because Snoke was like, it's lost, it's over. Get your people on a ship and get the fuck out.
Yep. Come back.
Bring Kylo Ren back, and I'll give him more training or whatever. So, what did you think of Snoke overall?
I really enjoyed how he had this gigantic room temple thing made to house his hologram.
That seems an appropriately dark side thing to do.
Yeah, and I loved how it was just such on a scale to where you, like, if you're talking, you're looking up to him, he's looking down at you.
Yeah, he's like 3 stories
massive.
tall. Yeah.
I really liked the way they did it. I thought it was kind of cool.
Because at first I thought he was a giant, and then his hologram disappeared, and I was like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want there to be a super giant humanoid guy. You know what I mean? So, because I thought that would have been too cheesy, maybe?
Yeah, it would have.
You know? So, then the hologram disappeared, and I was like, oh, good. That's actually pretty awesome. Because it totally makes sense that he would have this, like, imposing, huge, sort of, like, throne room example.
To be the emperor.
Because there's even a version where the emperor does that in 4, I think it's 4? Maybe it's 5? Where the emperor appears, like, super large or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's an appropriately dark side emperor-y thing to do, I think. So.
I guess
it's a very Old Republic thing to do too, because they have the giant statues.
Yeah.
I guess the way I feel about Snoke, I like the character, but so far he hasn't shown me where he's like terribly different from Darth Sidious.
Some people were calling him Darth Plagueis.
Some people think he might be Darth Plagueis. Yeah. That they might make him Darth Plagueis.
Fascinating. So Sidious is original master.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, but I thought Sidious killed Plagueis, according to Sidious.
Well,
right, according to Sidious.
If this is Darth Plagueis, though, I mean, he's looking pretty rough. He's been through a fight.
Well, if we're going through the rule of 2, right, then in order for the apprentice kills the master, that's how it works. So when the apprentice becomes strong enough, he kills the master. That's the way the Sith keep getting stronger. Because that's why the rule of 2 was originally invented in the books.
Yeah.
Which are, again, no longer considered canon. But in the books, Darth Bane invents the rule of 2 for the Sith. Because he basically helps the Jedi extinctify the rest of the Sith, except for him and one apprentice. And he institutes the rule of 2 because he found that it was too often that the Sith were diluting their power by... they would have a master, and then 5 or 6 apprentices, none of which were stronger than the master, would gang up and beat the master, and then one of them would rise to the top of that group, but he would be a lesser person.
Yeah.
Like, less powerful than the master that they had taken out. And so they weren't getting stronger overall, they're basically cycling in place, essentially. And in order to become stronger enough to beat the Jedi, they had to limit it down to 2. One master, one apprentice, and if the apprentice is strong enough to kill the master, then that's how they take over and get stronger and better and keep improving. So, according to the rule of 2, Sidious would have had to have killed Plagueis, or at least believed that he killed Plagueis in order to advance to become the master.
Yeah.
And then get his own apprentices.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, so far there's not a lot to differentiate him from...
Well, and I don't think this is Grand Leader Snoke's movie. You know what I mean? I think this movie was about Kylo Ren, and about him, and I think that in the future we'll get to know more about Snoke and more about. I think Hux will play a bigger role in the future as well, maybe. You know, and that in the next movie we'll see a lot more of them. Because I predict that the First Order will strike back hard in the next one. You know what I mean? I predict an Empire cycle for the next movie.
I gotta admit, I like what J.J. Abrams did with this movie, but I'm kind of glad he's not doing the next 2.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I thought there was a little bit too much of the throwback.
I think everybody generally thinks that there was a little too many nods in this one still.
He said there's going to be less.
And there was less than there was in Wrath of Khan, the 2.0 or whatever that he did.
But these were still
there were less nods, but there were
really
still a bunch of nods.
Yeah.
Really heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Like, I like Chewie, I like Han, you know, but I didn't need to have, like, I don't know, they just...
I love that they actually developed Chewie into even more of a character.
Oh, Chewie's fantastic.
You know, I love the scene that Chewie has with the nurse when they get back to the Resistance base or whatever. He's like talking or what. You can't understand what he's saying, but she's like, "Yeah, I'm sure you were real brave. Yeah, I'm sure of that." And she's like, these guys, these soldier guy, whatever, this Wookiee. So like, but he was like that guy.
I like how
it was a great scene because like you don't really get to see that much of Chewbacca's personality otherwise.
Yeah.
I like how quickly he turned on Kylo Ren. Like you could tell he was tolerating Kylo Ren because Han was.
Yeah.
But as soon as that cycle was broken, he fired on him.
Yeah,
and
he took a straight shot.
Shoot to kill. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that after Han Solo dies, because spoilers, Han Solo dies in this one. We'll get to that here in a minute. But I love that after he dies, that Chewbacca just goes into like Wookiee rage mode and just straight down to business. He's not like firing at people to like keep them out of the way or anything. He is just straight killing every motherfucker that he sees.
Yep.
Starting with Kylo Ren.
I thought it was hilarious when Han fired his blast. He was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, like this thing's cool. Like he kept asking the bar, like, "Hey, can I try that out again?
Yeah.
Can I try that out again?" So let's talk about Han Solo then for a minute. So Han Solo returns in this movie. Did you like the way he came back? Like the way they reintroduced Han Solo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think I mean, obviously, there's more of this, like you said. What happened between him and Leia. There's more of that is explained in the books and the comics. But what I like about this specifically was that he came back as Han Solo.
Yeah.
He came back as the scoundrel.
Yeah.
And not, like, because he, as you said yourself, made as shitty of a father figure and husband as you might think Han Solo would.
As you might think Han Solo would. Right, because he's a scoundrel. That's what he do.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, like, because in the books, they sort of glorify and heroify Han Solo and he becomes that like the heart of gold character in the books, and it was okay, but he never really felt like Han Solo the scoundrel, who just occasionally makes the right decision because it's the right thing to do, but for the most part he was in it for himself, and so he becomes like a great dad and a great husband and all that stuff in the books. And it never really quite felt right to me. But I love the way that in this one, like, he's not. He's just not a great father figure. He's not a great husband. He's not. That's not a strong suit.
He knows it, but he knows that it is who he is. It's his nature.
Yeah. He can bromance with Chewie like a motherfucker, but he cannot. Being a husband is just not his thing.
Slightly off topic, but, related. Going back to the idea that this movie was very heavy-handed in the nods, like, you have the entire old cast being the old cast, being Leia, being, the older, wiser Leia, the older, wiser, but not wiser Han.
Right.
You have the old cast there doing their thing. You have the Millennium Falcon. You have all these set pieces and things that show, like, the tie-ins to the old movies. That would have been enough for me.
Right.
And Han specifically was the vehicle for a lot of those nods.
Yeah.
And it just... when those came out, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel right to me.
Okay. What? Like which one specifically?
The first one that I noticed was when he wanted to throw Phasma into the
trash
compactor.
I agree. The Phasma into the trash compactor one seemed a little off.
I'm like, ugh.
Go ahead.
The other one was talking about destroying the base. He's like, there's always a way to destroy these things.
They always
have a hole. Yeah. And the reason why that didn't feel good, it wasn't so much that it was a nod, but that didn't feel good either. But mostly because I'm like, now you've just destroyed like any sort of like feeling of danger that you might have had.
It was a little too meta, I think.
Yeah.
A little too meta.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed his line because it felt, I think, like a correct Han Solo line where Han Solo would be like, yeah, we've done this before, old hat stuff. You know what I mean? Because he's that sort of like cocky, arrogant kind of guy who'd be like, yeah, whatever. They build giant circle things and we blow them up. It's cool. We've done it before. Let's do it again or whatever. But it did feel a little too meta the way he said it. Like I think we could have made a similar line that did not feel as meta and as much like it kind of took me out of it for a minute.
It did.
You know what I mean? I think we could have had a similar line that didn't take me out as much.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of aggravated me because then immediately after that, when they did attack the base, they flew down uncovered and they were doing the exact same like Death Star run on the planet. It didn't work, obviously.
They had like there was like literally
it was the same
5 seconds.
It was a trench run.
There was 5 seconds of trench run, and it wasn't part of the initial attack.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You put 5 seconds.
I understand what you're saying.
His line was less than 1 second, or maybe 2 seconds. It doesn't matter. It's just it's it's more than necessary.
Agreed. I agree. But it wasn't, like, the trench run wasn't that big of a deal, I didn't feel like, in this movie.
Neither were those lines.
You know, I didn't feel like it was enough for me to complain about.
It wasn't.
Because he, like, flew through the trench for, like, 5 seconds, and it wasn't like we had the whole scene where he was like, stay on target, or any of that. Or where he was like, you know, where some badass pilot from the other side showed up or whatever, started taking him out.
All I'm saying is that
it didn't have the same feel in my mind of the trench run from the other one. It just happened to be the most convenient place for him to get down, get into the base safely.
It was a nod that was unnecessary, and it took away from the movie.
I agree.
I disagree entirely.
Well, you're wrong.
That's cool.
You're
I
absolutely
have historically I have never been wrong. I can't possibly be wrong about this.
Well, like, but it's just another one of those things that adds to the multitude of things.
And I get it. I get your point. I do.
You know,
just for me, it didn't bother me that much. Like if they had done
that minus a few lines or minus like, I would have been fine with that. But it was just so much. It was just so much.
That's fair. And I think it's a valid complaint. I do think there were too many nods. The trench one is not one that bothered me in particular.
I would have preferred to have seen something like they're fighting a giant. It's a planet, right? Mm-hmm. It's a giant planet. There's so many other things they could have done with that. That would have been, I think, plenty cool. Like chasms. Like I don't care. Something else.
Yeah. Chasm is still basically a trench.
More or less, but
because it's the only thing that makes like logical, like you know, because what's he gonna do? Like try and fly out in open space where everybody with a gun and a stormtrooper helmet can shoot at him? He's not. He's gonna get into a trench and try and like take some cover as he gets in. It's the only thing that makes logical sense. Yes, it's a direct nod to both the first and third, to both 4 and 6. Yes, it is.
There's plenty of other things they could have done.
It didn't.
There's plenty of other things they could.
Anything else is going to be a trench by another name.
Well,
it's still good. A rose is a rose, regardless.
Maybe
even
not.
if it's a chasm with
make it over a plane, I don't care. Make it over a lake. I don't give a shit. Make it something other than a trench.
A trench is a trench is a trench. It's the most logical thing for him to fly into to protect himself from the other guns.
Okay, kind of switching off that. What did you think about
switching off Roby being wrong? Let's.
Switching off that whole thing entirely. This seemed like the CG for the airplanes or the X-wings and stuff like that. Like,
I thought the CG for the TIE fighters and X-wings especially was top fucking notch.
So good.
Like when they were flying over the water and like you saw is when they weren't going to lose this one planet. They were coming to protect it, and you just see this like tidal wave of X-wings flying across. I was just like, oh, and then they all.
The battle scenes were great or whatever, especially the one scene where you see like Poe Dameron come in and just be badass all over everything.
He comes in. He comes into this angle, shoots and kills like 2 TIE fighters. Comes around, shoots another TIE fighter. Like just comes around, like blows up like 3 stormtroopers because he's like they're just there.
Bad guys is bad guys.
Shoots them while like Finn is like 2 feet away.
Right.
He snipes
him out.
In an X-wing that's moving.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, damn, Poe Dameron, BA.
Yeah. So he was really good. He's an adequate replacement for Wedge, I think.
Oh, he's well.
I would have loved to have seen Wedge appear in this movie again, but
I'm just gonna assume that Wedge was like trained Poe.
Wedge is still alive.
Yeah.
True.
He could come into this movie. The actor is still around.
Yeah. They could actually have him. He actually looks better than most of the other actors.
True. Actor story. He did not age. He aged better than the rest of them, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Because Han Solo looks pretty old.
Yeah.
Like Harrison Ford looks 70.
Yeah. Well, so does Carrie Fisher. She looks rough. She looks rough, but I mean that's fine. It's what's supposed to be.
Right.
You know, I have no problem with it.
Yes, absolutely. They should look old, or whatever. But I felt like sometimes in some of Harrison Ford's action sequences were a little less action than they would have been in 4, 5, and 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for certain.
So, yeah.
There's so much more I could talk about this.
General Leia. Let's talk about General Leia real quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's talk about Leia and then we'll wrap it up.
Right. No, we'll talk about overall feels. So Leia, I thought that General Leia was awesome because I think that like what I like about this movie is like it all circles around the events of Kylo Ren going evil. Right? He goes evil, and every one of the original trilogy members, the big 3, Luke, Leia, Han, all of them blame themselves and assume that the other people also blame them for Kylo going rogue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Luke assumes that that Han and Leia are going to hate him for messing up the training of their kid. He blames himself for it. It's his fault. So he goes into self-imposed exile to try and find the original Jedi Temple and get more training, because he feels like he's not strong enough of a Jedi to do that yet. You know, Han and Leia, it causes friction in their setup or whatever. They end up going apart, and Han goes back to doing what he knows best, and Leia buries herself in her work as a general for the Resistance.
Yeah.
You know, that's what she does, because she thinks that Han blames her, or she thinks that everyone else blames, her too for it or whatever. She wasn't a good enough mother or whatever, Although I think of she's the one who has the least amount of self-recrimination, I think, really.
She's more forgiving, though. She's like, we can save. So
right.
She hasn't given up hope. Like Han, you could tell he gave up hope on it.
Yeah. But with that true maternal instinct or whatever, she just hasn't given up hope yet.
Yeah, Han got dragged back into it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to,
but she buried herself in her work after her family life fell apart. She buried herself in her work, and that's what she's been doing. And it shows, because she's in fucking charge.
Yeah. She the general.
Yeah.
She hit the scene and people moved.
Yeah. So, and I like the way they used her character for the most part. And I love that there was obviously, I thought her and Han still had good chemistry. Like I thought that was still there, that you could tell when they were on screen together that there was still something between them. But that they weren't going back there.
Yeah. More than something. Like, it's just that it was... The business of their son came before their relationship.
Yeah. Now, aren't they supposed to have 2 children? Like, or is that just EU that got cut?
That's EU.
In the EU that got cut, they have 3 children, right? They had twins, Jason and Jaina, and then they had a third son that they named Anakin. And Anakin ends up dying in the Yuuzhan Vong War. Right, they're taking it exactly. Taking it back. But that's what eventually drives Jason to go evil. And then Jaina has to take him out.
Yeah, and Ben was actually the name of Luke and
Mara Jade.
Luke
and Mara Jade's daughter. And he was an apprentice to Jason Solo for a while.
Yeah.
And Jason almost takes him down to the dark side too, but Luke saves him.
But yeah, so this was this was kind of a nod to the books, which I think needed to be there.
Yeah, well, the Starkiller base is also in the books. And does what it basically does in the movies. So it's sort of like a mishmash of some of the EU.
Gun in the center of a planet. Well, I gotta say though, like, I was thinking about how did they actually get the physics of this to work? Because
it's science fiction physics.
Okay.
It's science fiction physics.
Things sucks up a sun, man.
Right.
Right.
So, okay.
Which also doesn't make much sense, but science fiction.
So
physics.
it sucks up the sun, which is radiation. Okay.
Yeah.
Shoots a giant beam of radiation. Explode. Like, everybody on the surface of that planet would be fried, Fallout style, if I'm not mistaken. So
no,
you're mistaken.
You're mistaken, because that's why they blew up the thing they blew up at the end of the scene. Because that thing that they blew up was keeping everybody from being fried.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were able. Okay, well, it makes sense.
What do they call it? A resonator or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, it stores the power. It's basically the battery.
Yeah, okay.
But it's where they store
the
the
heat from that beam would melt. Like, there's still snow on that planet.
Yeah. Well, we're making a lot of assumptions about what it's like there. You know what I mean?
True.
It's science fiction physics. You sort of have to just accept it. It's soft sci-fi physics. There's no real explanation for it. You don't know how or why. I mean, how do they shoot laser bolts?
I like how they just moved the sun, though. In that universe, the sun went from over there to right there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every other planet is fucked. But whatever.
Well, yeah, it fucks, you can fuck 2 systems at once.
Yeah.
But, yeah. The sun getting eaten was a little I'm like, well, okay, whatever.
Yeah. It's science fiction physics. You sort of have to, chalk up some of this stuff to, that's how it works in their world, because they have things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And you have to, with a lot of science fiction, you sort of have to, go that way. Because this is more of a sci-fi fantasy, really. Star Wars always has been. Star Trek's always been a little more realistic about their science and their science fiction. But this is more fiction and less science.
Yeah. Science fiction fantasy, I like that. And it is. So, okay, overall feelings and scores. Let's go. Roby.
Overall, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I really love the movie. The nods didn't bother me too much. I felt that there were more of them than there should have been, but they didn't bother me that much overall. I loved all the new characters. I loved all the returning characters. I loved the resolution of Han's storyline, where he ends up getting killed trying to save his son, which I believe he only did to make Leia happy. Which seems like something that the Han Solo, who's normally only out for himself, would have done.
You don't think he did it also because he wanted to like make amends with his son?
I don't think he cared that much about his son.
I don't know if I believe you.
Do you think
That's fair.
So you think
Like,
that
you
Han
gotta-
Solo saw him as a lost cause and was like, I'm just doing this for Leia?
I'm doing this for Leia.
You
Would
really
you think
that?
he would have
I
gotten
think
that
so.
close to him though if he thought like it that way? Like, because if I'm doing it for someone else, I'm going to make sure I'm out of lightsaber distance when I'm talking to him. That's just me, but
Yeah, but he
Well-
knows he has to go all in,
true.
He's
or it's not
gonna-
going to work.
You think Han the scoundrel, the guy who doesn't care that much about his son, would let his son kill him or put himself at that close range just to make Leia happy?
Maybe it started
Yes.
off that way, but
Oh,
then
get
it
out of
feels.
Yes, I do.
No, you're wrong.
Yes, I do.
You're just wrong about this.
That's fair.
Oh man, that's painful for you to be that wrong. It's rough.
That's what I feel.
But I like how it affected Kylo Ren when he did it. Like he's had that initial "I'm free from this,"
Well,
but he wasn't.
That's
really.
that's my other thing, right? Like, did he? Because it didn't seem to
Leia's
me
not
like
dead yet.
it didn't seem to me like he was really having an internal struggle. It almost felt to me more like he was just deceiving Han to get into close enough range or whatever.
See, I didn't feel that. I think he did have an internal struggle. I'm gonna agree with Ryan on this one.
I think he was having an internal struggle, and then at the last minute said, "This is my decision," and did it.
Because it seemed too much like obvious bad guy trick, obvious to me, for him to actually have some internal, like if he had maybe like actually left the bridge with Han or whatever, and then saw something else that made him change his mind, I'd believe it.
Well,
But it seemed too. It seemed
I'm
too
not
quick.
saying he didn't
for me to
intend to
believe
do
that
it the
he
entire
had
time.
that struggle.
No. I'm not saying he didn't intend to do it the entire. I believe
Oh,
absolutely.
he had that murder sentence
He
the whole
intended to
time.
do it the entire time, but it wasn't a simple matter for
Yeah, I
him.
don't think it came as easy as expecting to come.
Like he did it. He intended to do it. He was going to do it, but it wasn't like oh, okay, I win. He was. I mean, they showed at the beginning he had a struggle with it. He had a struggle with it. He felt the pull of the lightsaber because he was near his father.
He was talking
because
to
he was near
He
Leia.
was talking to the Emperor
Like
about it.
that was always a thing, and like
Alright.
this was, and there was still a struggle.
I'm saying it didn't. He didn't convince me that much in that scene.
Because I don't think there was much convincing that needed to be done. Like he didn't. It wasn't like a serious struggle. It was like this is the last stroke. He felt it, you know,
like striking down his
it's
master.
way down deep, you know. But it wasn't like. It wasn't one of these,
Alright.
you know. It wasn't one of these things that
That's my
like
thought.
nearly stayed his hand. I think he was absolutely going to do it all the entire time. Like he never thought he wasn't going to do it, you know. But
Right.
there's something in the back of his head. It's like, don't do it.
All right, Brian, what did you think overall?
I'm gonna go 8.5.
Okay.
Um,
It's racist, but fine.
I enjoyed it. I really did. It was so much better than 1, 2, and 3 that we got.
Right.
And I even with the campiness of like some of the throwbacks, I still will watch it many more times and enjoy it and think finally we got a real Star Wars movie. So
Yeah, we just scheduled it to go see it in IMAX, maybe in IMAX 3D. Check it out.
yeah, we can. Yeah. Yeah, actually, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there was just enough like I don't know. There was too many. Like I don't know. It felt like I was just watching a rehash of Return of the Jedi a few times. So I'm just kind of like, okay.
There were no Ewoks in this movie.
I know, but
No one even vaguely Ewok-ish.
it just seemed too much. Now I understand that it's been a long time since a quality Star Wars film has come out, so they wanted to remind you of the good ones that were there, and that's what they kind of did with all the throwbacks and stuff like that. Like I get it, I appreciate it. I just think there's too many of them.
Okay.
And then that, yeah. So
All right.
Well, I got 2 scores for this because I enjoyed it a lot. Like a
Really?
whole lot. I would say my enjoyment level was a 9 of 10, 9.5 of 10. Like, as a movie, as a quality movie, I would give it more like a 7.
Okay.
And I think there's some fairly big reasons for that. First one being, again, the nods were there's just too many, too heavy-handed. Could have done with less of those. We didn't really need them. We had the original cast. We had we knew about all that stuff. We didn't need them. The second reason is I feel like there was a lot of like, wait till the next movie moments. Like in the we're gonna explain the story more in the next movie, and I don't think that's the right way to do movies. It's not a TV series. It could be a little bit more. I don't mind some open.
You think it doesn't stand alone enough? Enough?
Yeah, I don't think it stands alone well enough. Like I think it could have, and it would have been hard to do so. But I don't mind open-endedness. That's perfectly fine. But you can't create characters. I feel like Phasma, for example, need to have more
underutilized
or less.
Yeah,
like one of the two. She's in this weird middle zone that just felt unnatural and wrong.
Right.
And there's some of the character interactions and relationships seemed a little too rushed as well. Like I think Finn and Rey was perfectly fine, but Finn and Poe was a little weird. Like the beginning opening stuff was great.
Right.
And then there's like a large portion of the movie where Finn thinks Poe is dead. He sees Poe near the last half hour of the movie, and then they hug like they were the best friends and or gay lovers. Like they were super close, and I'm like they knew each other for maybe 2 hours.
Sam leaned over to me and goes, "Oh look, he gave him his letter jacket."
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You can easily ship Poe and Finn.
I'm perfectly fine with a Finn Poe relationship.
So am I. I'm just saying.
They get a thing. I don't care. Bring it up. You know what I mean?
It was that level of.
Well, and if they do that in the next movie, I'm like, fine. Okay, I'm fine with what happened now in the first movie.
Right.
Because now it makes sense. They were just highly attracted.
Well, it's somebody who's super important to him because, like I said, he gave him a name. He made him a real person. And so that's sort of exuberance is what Finn does.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I think he is someone who's very important. But even when that's the case, when you only know somebody for 2 hours, a big physical contact like that is almost regardless. Is like
I would agree, except I think it's part of Finn's sort of
and apparently
innocent, naive personality. I don't know that Poe was 100% for it.
Dude, he ran up to him. It was like, ugh. Don't tell me that. They was obvious.
Right. I don't remember that scene well enough. I guess, so.
They were they ran at each other. Seriously, it was Gone with the Wind, running at each other. Just for a big romantic cut. I'm telling you.
I expected them to tumble over, be shirtless on a beach, and then
instantly.
Yes, they just fall shirtless beach, making out.
Anyway, point is that was a little rushed. But only that one point. It's that when you have a movie that does things very well otherwise, these moments stand out worse, I think.
Right, that's fair.
So,
okay.
But I would give it a 7.
Well, if we don't end it now, we're never going to end it.
Yeah.
So, this is true.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out. And enjoy episode 69, the Star Wars episode. If Disney wouldn't kill me, I'd make the music Star Wars themed intro, but I still might. Yeah.
You can adapt it as long as it sounds different enough.
It's not.
I'm not sure who the
ripping
different
the song
enough
and
is.
putting it on there.
Yeah, not a good idea.
YouTube
Disney would destroy you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It'd be funny, though, to get a cease and desist on a YouTube channel that has one viewer.
That would be worth it, I think. We could hang that ladder up.
Yeah.
This is our cease and desist from Disney.
Disney. But, okay. So, yeah, thanks for coming out. Check us out at rsgpodcast.com, Twitter at RSG Podcast, and Random Subgenerate on the Facebooks. We are going to be doing some changes coming up. We're going to add more content coming out. In fact, we're going to be doing a Twitch stream later tonight, which you won't know about because this won't be up tonight. But
yeah, you'll see the stream. You'll see the stream first.
Yeah,
yes,
but
indeed.
We're gonna mess around. We might be dropping some of the video on here and doing a just straight audio style for a while, just to see kind of how it goes. So, but check us all out. More of that later on.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned. So, thanks for coming out. Fucking Disney.